Hi, I'm back. My house is a mess. Oh my god, don't tell me you need to pee. We are gathered here today to talk about personal or household finances and how we manage that. I got inspired to do this because I got asked by one of my friends how Christian and I manage our finances and how we quote unquote don't argue about it. Let's focus first on the concept of not arguing about it. So everyone's raised differently. Of course, you'll have different perspective about finances. And so I think you need to remind yourself na you're both different people. You both have different perspective on how you handle money. But you should always focus on your common goal, which is to live comfortably or save money buy things you want, like for example a new house, a new car, like probably a new gadget, a new appliance for the house, or even save for the future of the child. You should always focus on a common goal. Basically, if you argue about it, it's not the end of the world, because you both are different people. Everyone argues, and you just have to find like a common ground, like a compromise. Here are my actual tips on how you manage your household finances. So first, start with calculating your household contribution. How much you earn, how much loans or debts you have, how much you give to other people, and how much you can contribute to the house. The formula is net pay, which is your take-home pay, less monthly loans or debt payments, and then your other familial donations equals that's how much you can contribute to the house. How much you give to other people. Now this is more of like the Filipino traditional way where you give money to your parents or to your siblings, probably nieces and nephews that you sponsor. Take that into consideration because that's actually gonna be part of your net contribution to the house. Set that up for each of you, for you and your partner, and then present that to them. I'm not giving the riz that I was supposed to give. Second step is to recognize which one is the spender and which one is the saver. Whoever is getting called galante, the one who likes laab, the one who likes to spend money on food, or the one who likes date nights more, that one obviously is the spender. So you need to identify which one is which. An example of this is actually on my family, my parents specifically. My father is the one who is always called the my dad is always the one who's getting called galante, and my mother is always the one who is getting called kuripot. My dad is actually the spender and my mom is the saver, which actually worked for our family before. Now for this generation, or for my family, my future family, me and my husband, I'm always the one who's getting called galante, and he's the one who's always getting called kuripot. So in our case, I'm the spender, he's the saver. Now the reason why you should be identifying which one is the saver, which one is the spender, is you need to assign the saver to save the money. It doesn't need to be the wife specifically. Whoever is the saver needs to be the one who saves for the family. It's actually not conforming to the trope that the wife is the one who budgets for the house and who handles the money better, because honestly, in my case, it's not. And so I let it be taken care of my husband, because I would rather have someone capable of doing the saving than me. Okay, so next step will be accounting for your expenses. So for you to account for your expenses, Christian, he actually uses an expense management app on his phone. So he downloads the expense manager on the App Store. It's a free app. You can just log in all your expenses, all your personal expenses there. But that's just how he logs them. He transfers them to a different spreadsheet which is very complicated, I know, and I also do that, don't worry. Or you can just start with Google Sheets on your desktop. If you have a Google account, Google Sheets is free, so you can put a column for the date, another column for category, and another for amount, the amount that you spent, and then make a chart beside it, and voila, your very own spend analyzer. So this chart actually helps you see, because if you have credit cards, you will see like spend analyzer reports on your statements every now and then, and this one helps you track which category is the biggest expense that you have in your household. And then you can just simply access this on your phone by downloading the Google Sheet app as well, and then log in your expenses. If the internet is not accessible anytime, you can make the spreadsheet available offline, so you don't have to upload this every now and then. That's just like a very, very simple way of logging in your expenses. A tip from me is that if you're not very good at logging your expense, use cashless transaction like GCash or PayMaya. Ever since the pandemic, most of the businesses now in Philippines are accepting GCash or PayMaya as payments. And so I would highly recommend that. That way, you have an electronic copy of how much you spend. Then, get all of those information and then log them here on your spreadsheet. That way, you can have like a little report of how much you spent for even for that week. If you have credit cards, you can use that as well, but make sure that you use your credit cards wisely. Okay? All right. And then for logging, like I said, doesn't have to be daily, but you need to spend at least an hour per week just to log all your expenses. It doesn't necessarily have to be daily, but if you can do it daily, then that's perfect. If not, always do it on a weekly basis. Just sit down on your computer or sit down even on your phone and just log all the expenses that you did, like just to let you know where your money went. Because sometimes, may mga times talaga minsan na you're gonna be like, bakit ito na lang natira sa sa bangko ko? What happened? Somebody stole my ATM. And then you realize, after logging all of those expenses in, you realize na the amount on your bank account actually makes sense because this is how much you spent for this week. So it actually gives you accountability, and then you also have a real-time analyzer on why are we spending so much on food, or why are we spending so much on grocery when we eat out. You know, and why are we spending so much on entertainment or like on apps like Disney Plus, Netflix, HBO when we don't even watch movies anymore. So those are the things that you can figure out when you start to log your expenses on a daily or even weekly basis. Okay, step number 4 is after you've done step number 3, if you've logged enough information for the month or like for 2 months, then you can create your own budget. There's actually no blueprint on how you should do this, but you can always set like a spreadsheet again of how much your monthly budgeting expenses are. And so for example, I can show you how I do it. So again, just beside the same spreadsheet, I just put the category and then how much budget I have, and then the actual amount. And so it's actually very complicated at the moment if you create that in spreadsheet, but this is the formula that I have for analyzing like if my expense is on track or exceeding. And I'll show you my actual one for this. Is very embarrassing, but you can see that I'm in debt. I'm actually in debt right now because there are, like I said, there are expenses that exceeded for the month of January. So yeah, that's how I track my budget. I can create a more in-depth explanation on how I do my spreadsheets, because this one is really quite complicated, and it took me like 2 years to figure this out, to figure out what works for me. And this might work for you, I'm not sure. But definitely this reporting style that I did, how I did it, is actually very complicated. I can talk about this in depth in another video, so watch out for that. The next advice is just be honest. I know it's kind of like, what? So be honest, meaning don't set unrealistic household contributions, because this will mess the whole thing up. If you don't put out na you have utang, or that you're paying a loan to on a certain amount, then your net contribution or your actual household contribution will actually be less than expected. So this actually results into arguments and sitahan, and that's where the conflict arises. Be honest on how much contribution you are actually gonna contribute to the house. It's not to make you feel less than you are, it's just managing expectations to the other partner or to your partner. And so otherwise, your logs, your budgets, your budgeting status, and your savings, they will all be wrong. The amounts will all be wrong. If you said na your or your household contribution will be 25,000, and you didn't take into account na nagbibigay ka pala ng 5,000 sa parents mo monthly, and then you end up giving 20,000 to your partner will be like, bakit 20,000 lang yung binigay mo? Di ba sabi mo 25,000? And then that's where the argument starts. Okay, so it's just being honest. It's managing expectations. That's what it is. So in relation to this, my advice to the other partner who is the saver is to always be kind. Like I said, not everyone can grasp the concept of saving. I'm not a good saver. Personally, I like buying stuff that I don't need, and some of this, like for example, this IKEA. Whoa! You really need to be kind to your partner for them to be honest. And it doesn't necessarily mean na huwag mo siyang pagalitan if they're overspending. Just be kind. Encourage them to be honest, and when they do, don't betray them by getting angry at bad financial decisions, because trust me, we've all been there. We've all been into bad financial decisions. Like for example, this IKEA chair was a good investment at the time because we thought it's a sofa bed, so it can be a sofa, and then it can be a bed, and then it end up just receiving dust. And so at the moment, it's really a bad financial decision, and I made that decision. And Christian was very kind about it. He was like, okay, we spent that, and that's a good lesson for you, and so I hope that you learned from it. Just be kind to the spenders, because they're learning and they will learn. And trust me, if you're kind to them, if you're patient with them, then they will be honest on how much they're actually spending. And that also helps you manage your budgets and your expected receivables from them. But yeah, those are the steps, the first steps and tips as well on how we manage our household finances. Now for the questions, I actually went to Instagram and Facebook and asked me questions on how we manage our personal finances, and I got a couple questions from Instagram. The first question is, how do we handle our day-to-day finances? Like I said, how we handle that is to always log all your daily expenses. And to do that, download an expense tracking app or create a spreadsheet and log all your expenses. So that's one. Another question is, Can you recommend a good investment or investments? I cannot, because I'm not really into investing my money like Bitcoin and all that, or trading stuff. I'm not really good into that. But if you're looking into investments for the future, saving yourself from future expenses, I would recommend starting off with a health insurance. I personally have a health insurance myself, which is the AXA Health Max, which if I get diagnosed with cancer, then I'll receive a lump sum of money just to help me with my medical expenses. So that's just what I think my investment is. Always start with health investments. And the last one is, how do you save money? Set a budget, stick to it, and avoid activities that will make you spend lots of money. So, for example, one of the things that I noticed that I'm spending a lot of money in is whenever we go to malls. And so, whenever we leave the house and go to a mall, especially when we go to a Watson's, I noticed that I will spend an average of 700 pesos whenever I go into a Watson's. And so I avoid doing that. I will go to a Watson's just probably whenever I really need something. That's it. Let me look at the Facebook. Let me look at Facebook if people ask me stuff. Okay, somebody asked how to avoid utang, interest, and charges on my credit card. The simple answer to this is pay it 100% on a monthly basis. Now, if you say, pero yung credit card limit ko is 40,000. So, ginamit ko siya for the whole month. And yung sweldo ko is only 27,000. Very specific, right? You need to set an expectation na your monthly spending will always be your net pay less loans or monthly payments less your familial donations, and that will be your household contribution. If your loans, which are your credit card payments, they are actually utang, they are actually loans, and you need to pay them off. Now, if that's more than your net pay, that means you're living on a debt. That was Christian who asked that question. That's so funny. Not a lot of people realize that credit card is not actually free money, it's actually utang. So, if your credit limit is 40,000, then that's how much they are willing to let you utang from them. Now, if you spend more than your net pay, or if you, anong tawag doon, kung inubos mo lahat ng yon and you're not able to pay that, you go back to the original formula, which is your net pay less loans less familial donations is equals to your household contribution. So if your household contribution, or if your loan is actually bigger than your net pay, then you are living in an utang. So always remind yourself to spend wisely. Spend your money wisely, and just remember and just recognize na just because mas malaki yung credit limit mo doesn't really mean na may free money ka na to spend everything, because that will actually hurt you in the future. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that, and so yeah, you really need to pay off your credit card 100%. So yeah, those are the questions that I hope I answered clearly, and that's how we manage our household finances. I wish that my husband was here to explain more on his tips and tricks, but that's just my perspective as someone who is a spender. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something. I really hope you do. And the main thing that I actually want to emphasize is actually the last two tips that I said, the be honest and be kind, because without those you won't be able to make this household finances work. And so yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry if I'm rambling a lot, and I'll see you in my next video if I feel like posting something again. Bye. Thank you.